In this devlog, I've implemented a loot system which allows chests to spawn items.
An elephant.
Hey guys, Adam here from Mystique. In case you're new here, I'm working on a game called What the Hex. It's an action roguelike where you play as a wizard student possessed by an evil spirit. You must fight your entire school to break free from this curse. So subscribe now and click on that bell icon to ensure that you get notified whenever I upload new videos. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. It is due to their generosity that I'm able to make more games and more videos like this one. In the past few devlogs, I've been sharing my experience learning from Swords and Shovels, which is a series of courses from Pluralsight. This is one of the resources I'm using to learn intermediate level programming in my attempt to refactor my code. And now I've reached the loot system course. There are two main components to the loot system. The first being the spawner or the container, and the second being the item or the loot. In my current project, the spawner is represented by the chest, while the item is represented by this weapon, which is a very lazy attempt at making a broom. So if you have a look here, the spawner is actually an empty game object, and it has a script attached to it, and it will have a list of items that can be spawned from this particular chest. So I can easily increase the size of this number right here, and then there'll be more elements or slots available, and then I can just drag new weapons or items that I want to spawn from this chest. When I click on this chest, it will run a randomization logic, and it will then decide which items to spawn based on the results. Each item has a probability value which either increases or decreases the chance it will be spawned. I'll show this part later in the item script. The spawner uses an interface which acts as a contract, and in this project it's called iSpawner. This contract then forces certain information to be available before an item can be spawned. I feel that this is unnecessary for my project, but I'll keep it in the code for now, just in case. Who knows, maybe there's a use for it in the future. For the items, they are based on scriptable objects. So for example, I have this broom weapon right here, which I created earlier. This is really just for fun, it's not gonna be included into the final game. Anyway, when I click on it, we can see a list of variables like integers, booleans, and a bunch of other checks and drop downs. For example, there's a name variable here so that the inventory knows what to display to the player when they select this item. I mean, I'm not going to go through all of them, but the more interesting ones would be this one right here, item type, which determines what exactly the item will be. For example, it could be a weapon, armor, or even potions. You can keep adding on different item types depending on the needs of the project. Item types can then further be broken down into subtypes. So for example, in the case of armors, they can have a subtype of heads, hands, boots, etc. So basically different parts of armor. And then the most general one would be the item amount, which is just a value of the items that are stored, and this value will be passed on to the character stats, which is a separate script, and it won't make changes on this end. So for example, the value here for weapon would obviously be damage. If we were to click on an armor, the value will then be the armor amount. This is interesting because then we can start thinking of these various items and weapons as modular pieces that we can build, and it's based on the same structure, so it's easier to be reused. Alrighty, time for some demo. Since it's the Game of Thrones season, I thought it would be fun to include Cersei's elephant meme.
Elephants.
Alright, so we're gonna create a weapon that is technically an elephant, just for fun. We'll start with creating this scriptable object. It's called new pickup, and let's name this elephant. And then we'll start defining the different variables and fields. It is a type of weapon, no subtype armor. It has a value of, doesn't matter, 100,000. 100% chance of spawning, obviously. And then it is interactable. It's storable. It's storable. Everything else doesn't really matter. It has a weight of 5,000 whatever kilograms or pounds. And then we'll need to have a few things assigned here. The most important one is the spawn object itself. So I've got an elephant model somewhere, and I can just drag that here, and then that should be good enough. Let's click play. Oops, I forgot. Need to assign the spawn item. So in the spawner itself, right now it's only gonna spawn one item, which is the broom. We'll need to increase the spawn size so it allows more than one item. And then we're going to then drag our weapon, the elephant weapon that we created, right here in the second slot. So it's gonna run some calculations, and based on the amount of percentage that I put, it will then choose which item is more probable to be spawned. So elephant has 100 value in terms of probability, so it is going to be spawned more often than the broom itself. And then now when we click on the chest, boom, the elephant's out. It's just running on loop, so it's going to keep moving. I know what you're thinking. This doesn't look anything like the previous footage that you saw. So just for fun, I'm gonna recreate the chaos of this. So I'm just gonna duplicate this chest multiple times, and then I'm gonna move these chests around. Now, let's click play. And open all the chests. Oh, there's one randomly spawned broom right there. But everything else are elephants, and they collide with each other, and they have gravity, which is fun. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and consider subscribing for more game dev tips, tutorials, and inspiration. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.